Janet Jackson, ladies and gentlemen, give her a second.
Thank you, Jimmie. I appreciate that very much. I was going to come up here and start with one of my usual videos and scare the bejeebies out of you, but you're already scared. And then I was going to come up and do a rah-rah session to get you enthused, but you're already enthused. So what I'm going to do is just introduce what our 6 breakout classes are going to be, because that's where we are now. We're ready to go into action. We're ready to be trained. We're ready to be organized. And I am so grateful for the people who came here today to conduct these classes. Nancy Boston, who Jimmie talked about, is the quintessential Republican County Chairman. She's the go-to woman for information, and she's going to be conducting the class for our new county chairman and people who are interested in helping them or becoming a county chairman, and just give you a really good overview of what the duties are to truly lead your county party. So Nancy, thank you very much for coming. Is Chris Elam here yet? I think he was going to scoot in since he's coming in from Austin. Chris Elam is an outstanding young man. He's only 31 years old, but he's the communication director for the Republican Party of Texas. He grew up on campaign management. His dad has been the campaign manager for Ron Paul for several times, has managed several state and national campaigns, with Chris growing up in the midst of this. And then Chris, for the last 7 years, had been in that business. He's now the communication director. He will be conducting the class on campaign management, which is a great class if you're thinking about running for an office, or if you want to help people run, or within your party or an organization, you want to start getting things organized to help your candidates. So Chris Elam will be conducting that. Toby Walker, president of the Waco Tea Party, is our go-to person for what the heck does this mean? For those of us who grew up on typewriters and we're adjusting to the computer age, Toby has truly mastered Facebook administration, Twitter, all of the social media that we have to catch up to the Obama crowd on, because they got elected with it the last time. We've been reticent to do it as much as we need to, so Toby is here to help with that. Marie McClellan. Marie, where are you? Marie's in the back, and I just want to thank her. The Ballot Integrity Initiative is one of the most important initiatives coming out of the Republican Party this time. This is an initiative to make sure that every vote is a legal vote, and every vote that should be counted is counted. Now, we had our voter ID pass, and that's going to help a great deal, but there is still a lot of room for fraud in this system, and the best way for us to fight that fraud is to have our task force in each and every county that tracks the ballots, from the mail-out ballots, the counting, the boxes, the polling places, the mail-ins, every aspect of that. Ann Peden usually goes around and does this training, and she called me 2 weeks ago and said, I forgot to tell you, I'm going to be in China. And I went, oh my gosh, this is one of the most important classes. So I needed somebody that was quick on their feet and had good organizational skills, and unfortunately Marie answered the phone. And I want to tell you, this gal has taken this, she has gone over the manual, she has combined it with knowledge that she learned from classes with True the Vote. Then she went down to Kathy Van Wolf, the election administrator in McLennan County, and did a full half day there, touring every aspect of it. So Marie, I'm very thankful for you doing such a wonderful job in such a short time. Marie will be conducting that class. I will be doing a class on voter vault and RPT tools, and this is good for anybody who wants to work more within their party or their organization and use the tools like voter vault, poll watching, and the whole gambit of things that the party has set forth in programs to help you organize. Duke Machado, Duke's in the back there. Very proud to have Duke bring his Hispanic Inclusion Initiative. They are doing wonderful things with Stepping Stones education program that goes into the Hispanic community to fight high school dropout and to encourage participation in colleges. We have TSTC, MCC, and Navarro College who are all on board with this. So this is an excellent opportunity. If you do not have a Hispanic Inclusion Initiative in your county, make sure somebody from your county goes to this class. If you're already in one, please go to this and share your experiences and all. This is one of the most important aspects of the Republican Party that we can tackle right now, is realizing the demographics are changing, and it's not a matter of us going out and saying, oh, there's going to be more Hispanics in us, we need their vote. No, it's a matter of us going out and sharing our values with a community that no one has bothered to talk to. So Duke, thank you very much for your work, and I know that you all will be very interested in this. That will cover all of our classes. After lunch, the classes, except for the Duke's class, will be in here. But after we have lunch, we go out the front door and take a left. There's a classrooms over there. Each of the classrooms has a marker on it for which class it is and a sign-up sheet. So please be sure that you sign up in there. Thank you all once again for coming. Take what you learned today back to your counties, your organizations, spread it, and let's get busy.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me make you aware of something just in case that you're not aware of it, and that is 3 senators, state senators, only 3. Now we have 31, but only 3 received an A+ rating from Texas from fiscal responsibility and were named taxpayer champions. I am pleased. As a matter of fact, it is an honor to introduce you to one of those 3, our own senator, our own champion, Senator Brown Burton.
Thank you, Jimmie, for your very kind introduction. There's one other, that's one, you know, Texas fiscal responsibilities endorsements are always neat to have. That's a good thing. But your opposition's endorsements for what they say about you because of what they disagree with you on are pretty good too. We had one interest group that I will not name, but said Birdwell came to Austin with one mission: to vote against things. Birdwell managed to vote against more legislation than any other senator. So, that's a bad order. Yes, sir. Let me thank Janet and Jimmie for the invitation to join you all. The rules of engagement remain the same. Be good, be brief, be gone. So that we can afford you all the opportunity to ask questions. I don't always know that I'll have the answers, but we'll certainly work on that. And let me say a personal thank you to Janet and Jimmie too. There's a lot of my mileage that, because it's in an official capacity, I get reimbursed for. But y'all put a whole lot more miles on y'all's vehicles than I do, and y'all don't get reimbursed for any of that. Folks need to know just how difficult it is to do the job you're doing, and the personal expense that your job that you do costs you as well. And folks need to know that. So thank you guys for what you do across the let me start with a legislative update with the sonogram bill. And I don't start there for a symbolic, I start there for a symbolic reason, but it's the one that's most important. You know, in the Declaration, it talks about we're endowed by creator of certain unalienable rights, that among those are life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Life is first, because without life there is no liberty. Without liberty there is no pursuit of happiness. The sonogram bill, sponsored by Dan Patrick, which I was pleased to put my name on prior to session actually beginning as a co-sponsor of, requires any young lady considering an abortion, that in going to that abortion provider, they already have to perform a sonogram to actually be able to identify the location of the child. But that sonogram has to be offered to the young lady to see, and then the heartbeat has to be offered for that young lady to hear. It's not required that she looks at it, but it's required that it's offered. Because I saw it in a way that my duty is to protect life and obey the laws of our nation, because I took an oath to obey the laws and enforce the U.S. Constitution and our state laws. As a soldier, I also saw it the same way that I do as a soldier, is that before you pull that trigger, you better understand what you're about to do. You better have every bit of intelligence that you need to go accomplish your mission as a soldier. And when it comes to the potential taking of a life, you better have every piece of intelligence and information before you pull that trigger. And that's why I voted for the sonogram bill, because my first and foremost duty is to protect life. Because if I don't, then your expectation of whether I will protect your liberty and protect your pursuit of happiness will come into question as well. So that's why
There was an interesting poll that was done recently that said that only 17% of today's mothers think their kids are going to be better off than they are. That's shockingly bad. And it's because of liberals in Congress and our president that people feel that way to a large extent. How many of you think America's on the wrong track? That always gets today around 70% of the country think that America's on the wrong track. That's the reason I ran for Congress, is I was worried about my two sons and our new granddaughter being able to have the same type of American opportunity, the American dream that I got to live. And that's why I ran. I don't have a picture of my granddaughter with me today. I'm in trouble now. So. But I want her to have that same opportunity to live the American dream that I have. The big issues today, and I think Jimmie hit them on the head, jobs in the economy. We've got the federal fiscal situation is a disaster, and then energy security for this country as we go forward. I mean, we've got lots of issues. The numbers of issues that are out there are overwhelming. I mean, the conflict in Libya is another issue. But the three big ones that I pay the most attention to are jobs, the economy, our budget and our spending, and our energy security. Now, what are the impediments? Let's go through these real quick. What are the impediments to jobs in the economy? Spending and deficits. People are uncertain about what the credit markets are going to be like, what the capital markets are going to be like, because where their customers are going to come from, how much their health care is going to cost, what sort of new regulations are going to come out, what the EPA is going to do to them. And the EPA is by far the worst agency that we're having difficulty with. There's just an all-out regulatory assault. I call the regulators essentially the Taliban. They're out there today just doing, it seems like, for every one of us that's a conservative in Congress that's doing what we can to roll back regulations, there are 5,000 regulators out there writing them just as fast as they can. New air transport rule came out from the EPA this week. Going to regulate Texas power plants to try to make the air better in Michigan. That's how bad that has gotten. You got Dodd-Frank. You've got bankers. I've been approached by bankers from everybody from a small bank in Moody, Texas that has $53 million in assets up to J.P. Morgan, talking about what Dodd-Frank is doing to their business. We've got energy prices that are a problem for the economy. We've got Obamacare, the cost of Obamacare. People still don't know what that's going to cost, and they're still worried about it. We're going to have hearings next week in Congress on iPad, and I don't know how many of you are C-SPAN junkies, but listen to that. See what iPad does in terms of rationing your health care cost, and in terms of what's going to happen to us as everyday citizens on our future health care. One of the things that's interesting about the economy is there's a parallel in history that nobody's paying attention to. And if the Obama administration would pay attention to this parallel in history, they would change what they're doing today. If you go back and look at the Great Depression, I don't know how many of you are students of the Great Depression, but I pay a lot of attention to it. Because a lot of things happened in this country that set us on the wrong direction back then, from a policy perspective, that we're still paying for today. If you look at the Great Depression, there were two dips. You had 29 through 34, and then you had 37 and 38. Now, what are the things that happened in 37, 38 that drove us into a second dip? Roosevelt just got reelected, and he decided he was going to go a different direction now that the economy was getting on track a little bit, and he wanted to fully implement a new direction for the country. Federal spending went up 77%. The federal debt went up 150%. We catered and kowtowed to the unions and to organized labor. And we had hostility and a regulatory onslaught by the federal government. There were more pages of executive orders and regulations written in those 2 years than all the other presidents put together after Roosevelt through Bill Clinton put together. What happened? The economy went back down, unemployment went up to over 20%, and we went into the second dip in the Great Depression. And there was a gentleman named Morgenthau, who was Secretary of the Treasury. And he testified in front of the Ways and Means Committee one time, and he said, we have spent more money and borrowed more money than we ever have before, but yet unemployment remains sticky. And he was at a loss to explain it, but the only thing he was trying to tell the Ways and Means Committee when he testified in 1939 is what they were doing wasn't working. Now let's look at the parallels. How much is spending gone up in the last 2 years? 84%. Federal debt's up about 150%. We're catering to the labor, and we've got a regulatory onslaught, and that's what's killing our business today. One of the things, I'm working with a freshman Republican from Arkansas named Rick Crawford. He and I are working on a program similar to what you may have heard is called UCAT. And I don't know what the name of it's going to be, but we're going to have a regulation of the week. We're going to put out on the website 3 or 4 regulations of the week that we want to kill, and then we'll let the public vote on them, and then we'll have, after they vote on them, then we'll take that regulation down the floor and try to kill it on the floor within a few weeks after that. So we're going to try to do that. The big issues that you know about are the debt limit. That's coming up. The president has looked at some internal poll numbers, and he is scared to death of what he sees, and he should be. And so he came up with some things this week that sort of surprised me. He proposed 3 deficit reduction plans, a small one, a medium-sized one, and a big one. And the big one is around $4 trillion, and it touches the things that are drivers of our debt: Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Now, you can fix Social Security and Medicare without cutting benefits for today's recipients or people that are close to retirement. Medicaid has to be fixed pretty quickly. I think you heard Senator Birdwell go through what Medicaid's doing to the states, and it's not only is it bankrupting the federal government, it's also bankrupting the states as well. But he came up, he's decided he wants to talk about these things. And what happened to the left? The left is throwing rocks at him like crazy. I'm really enjoying this, watching this stuff. There is a meeting tomorrow among the 8 leaders in Congress, the majority and minority leadership of the Senate, majority and minority leadership of the House. That's going to happen tomorrow at the White House. Speaker Boehner from my side is keeping things pretty close to the vest. He's not letting us know. Part of the reason for that is there are some of my colleagues who will take incomplete information and they'll throw him under the bus. They'll tweet something out, or they'll have a press conference, and typically they'll do it for their own good. They're running for something else, so I can't give you a lot of insight. I can tell you what I want to see. I want to see something similar to cut, cap, and balance, and that's essentially take the deficit today, cut it substantially next year, and then cap spending at 18% of GDP, which is about where our tax revenues are, and then have a balanced budget amendment so we don't get into this mess again. That's what I'd like to see.